Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Let's Talk Thursdays podcast. My name is Brendan Plays, and well, yeah, what a week in wrestling. Specifically, what the hell happened with Baron Corbin? I mean, to be honest, I found it hilarious. I really am not upset whatsoever that Baron Corbin lost, but yeah, it was a very weird and very I want to say moronic call. I just can't get my head around it. Why on earth they would do it on a random SmackDown when SummerSlam's 1 week away? I don't know. But Corbin lost Money in the Bank, and that'll be the vocal point of our show today. Of course, including SummerSlam predictions. We'll get into that later on as well. We'll chat a little bit about WWE 2k18 towards the end of the show as well. And of course, we'll answer your questions regarding everything that's happened in the last week. But, if you do want to leave a question for next week's episode, which will be the post-SummerSlam edition, you can do so by leaving a comment in the YouTube comment section down below, or over on our Facebook page. Leave a comment there, and facebook.com/BrendanPlays is the name for you. Alright, so let's get into the show this week. We're going to start off on a bit of a somber note. Not quite yet, but it's a scary... That's really concerning, and that's obviously, of course, Ric Flair's health. Look, he's in critical condition apparently. Very conflicting stories what the actual issues are. Some say, he's had issues with his heart. Some say it's a colon. I mean, it's really all over the place. I don't think anybody really knows what it actually is and how severe it is and what's really going on, which is the real annoying thing about it all. I wish we would just find out this is what's going on. This is what's the deal, this is his chances of making it through. I wish we just had that, but for some reason it's just all this conflicting information and all these news sites are just reporting different things. It's hard to really know what actually is happening. So, look, at the end of the day, it really sucks, and I hope Ric Flair pulls through. I mean, I gotta say, man, Ric Flair is one guy that I didn't appreciate when I started getting into wrestling. When I started watching wrestling, he was towards the tail end of his career. He was a part of Evolution, not really wrestling all that much, and then he started wrestling a little bit more in 06, 07, of course then his retirement in WWE in 2008. So I didn't really get into Ric Flair that much until I was a bit older. Probably a few years ago I really started searching for Ric Flair clips and watching all the epic promos. It's not so much his matches I've been looking for, it's more of his promos, all those crazy promos that they would do. Back in the NWA and back in WCW, and then all the crazy times he'd come out on Nitro and he'd pull his clothes off and elbow his jacket, doing all these crazy, epic, memorable promos. That's what really gravitated me towards Ric Flair, and I really have become a big fan of Ric Flair because of that. So I hope Ric Flair pulls through whatever's going on. Hopefully he has a recovery, and it would be a huge loss to the world of wrestling if he was to leave us. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because it would, like I said, be a massive loss. And look, I don't know, man. Look, if losing Ric Flair, I mean, it'd feel like wrestling would stop for a day. That's how big it would be. I don't know. I would be weird watching wrestling on that day. I mean, I'm sure the WWE would have a huge, memorial and everything for him, but. Yeah, Ric Flair, like I said, he's so influential in wrestling, 16-time world champion, as we all know, but generation after generation after generation, Ric Flair went through them all, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, even went in a little bit in the 2010, 11 or 12, I think, with TNA, so he's been wrestling a hell of a long time, and that, unfortunately, is going to, take its toll on his body, so, and his party lifestyle, I mean, I don't think there's any real surprise that he's probably in this condition, unfortunately, the way he lived. But you got to say, Ric Flair had a freaking great life. Ric Flair has done it all. So, if you're going to go out, you want to go out with a bit of a bang, and certainly Ric Flair did. So, but he's not gone yet. So let's hope that he pulls through. I'm sure he'll fight it, and I'm sure he'll be okay. And fingers crossed. Certainly be a big loss. So. Big fan of Ric Flair, as I said, and it would be a massive loss to wrestling, and I'd be devastated, honestly, very devastated. But moving along, we'll I guess we'll brighten the mood a little bit because I'm going to probably laugh at what happened. And we're, of course, talking about the Baron Corbin Money in the Bank cash-in. Now, this was actually spoiled to me. I was a little bit late to watch SmackDown. I rarely watch SmackDown and Raw live. I rarely do. So quite often it can get spoiled for me at times, which is my own fault because I log on to social media, I check my YouTube page, then I click on Twitter and I forget, oh crap, SmackDown's on, and sometimes I accidentally see something on my Twitter or my Facebook that I didn't want to see because I just click on because it's just a habit. And there, boom, Baron Corbin cashes in Money in the Bank and fails. So I read that and I said to myself, no way, surely not. He probably cashes in and then, it's not actually official. He teases it, something like that. I thought, no, surely he doesn't actually fail to cash in. So I put on SmackDown, I watched to the end. We get to it, and it was just a really weird situation. Obviously, Cena lays out Jinder, beats Jinder, and Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin comes in, attacks Cena, hit him with the briefcase. Cena's down and out, and then Corbin takes forever to come after Jinder again. That's the weird thing. Like, why would he take so long? I mean, storyline-wise, of course. Why would he take so long to, cash in Money in the Bank? You do it right there and then, or hit a big move on Jinder and boom, go for it. Instead, he took so much time. And then when he was about to, when the match was about to start, you can see Corbin, you can see his eyes, he's looking around him, and it's quite clear that he knows Cena's coming, and he has to get ready. So you can see quite clearly right there that he's expecting Cena, he's expecting something to go down. So that was a bit of a giveaway. Bell rings, gets distracted, Jinder gets the roll-up, and apparently I think it's the fastest WWE Championship match of all time, 6 seconds or something like that. So that's crazy. And Jinder retains, and Baron Corbin officially loses the Money in the Bank briefcase. Now look, you guys know, I don't like Jinder, I don't like Baron Corbin at all. I don't see any money in Baron Corbin. I don't see him as a main event star. I've always said, look, if I'm looking between the two, if I'm comparing Strowman and Baron Corbin, I'm picking Braun Strowman every single day of the week, and that is 100%. Like, Baron Corbin would even think about Corbin for half a second, because I just feel like there's other guys so much better than Baron Corbin. And I think Baron Corbin's been one guy who's been very lucky that SmackDown's a little bit weaker right now, especially in the main event scene. Because you see Raw, we've talked about it for a number of weeks now, how great it's been, with the heavyweight division. Look at that Fatal 4-Way, Reigns, Joe, and Strowman, all fantastic. Then you still got Rollins and Ambrose, who are not even involved at all either. So, and then if you wanted to, you could always elevate Jeff Hardy. They love Sheamus, they could probably get him involved. And if they actually used Cesaro, he could probably get in there too. So there's a lot of guys that they could elevate in there. Whereas you look at SmackDown, they've had to go to Jinder as a radical risk and a radical idea they've gone with. Has it paid off? I would say no, but look, Jinder has stepped up a little bit. I still don't think he is worthy of being champion. I still think the right call right now would be for him to lose the championship. But he's done the best that I think he possibly can do. But you look on SmackDown, you got Cena who's in and out, you got Randy who they're not really focusing on giving him the championship right now. Look, he had the belt earlier on the year, so they've kind of moved him away from the belt for the time being. And you got Kevin Owens and AJ, who definitely two of them, without a doubt, could carry the championship. Chris Jericho's gone. So, and they got Nakamura, who's a bit of a risk right now. Is he worth the reward? I think so. I think he'll be a good champion, but it certainly is a risk. And then, Dolph Ziggler, he's nowhere to be found right now. Sami Zayn's got no momentum. So there really isn't a lot of competition there for a Baron Corbin to sneak in there and be a viable option for the Money in the Bank. So he's a little fortunate that he's on SmackDown and gets that opportunity. Because I don't think if he was on Raw, he would be anywhere near the top. I think they'd probably go Big Cass instead of Baron Corbin. I don't know, it could be wrong, but I certainly would if I was in charge. I would be going Big Cass over Baron Corbin. I just don't see anything Baron Corbin. Some people like him, and I'm really surprised by the outrage on Twitter and social media and in general. The outrage that Corbin lost. I mean, even on my forums and in my Discord chat, I was talking to people in there, and there was just outraged and livid that he lost the Money in the Bank briefcase. Whereas me personally, I thought, okay, the right call was probably made. I'm surprised, I am, but here's why I think it's not such a bad idea. And people saying he's been buried, people say his career is over. I really don't believe that. Yes, Damien Sandow, his career was done after he lost Money in the Bank, but I think Corbin is a little bit different, and they certainly would like to continue to push Corbin, regardless of that. I definitely want to push him and get him still as a main eventer, but maybe not through Money in the Bank. Whereas Sandow, I really never saw him as a world champion. Even when he had the briefcase, I thought to myself, well, I just can't see it. I just cannot see it. At least Corbin, if he had the belt, at least I guess I could accept it and see it. But Sandow just could not at all. He's just not, didn't look like a world champion at all. So Corbin, yeah, you could accept it, but I don't think it's a good call. So they went against it. So they said, okay, let's not have him win the belt. The reason why I think it's a good idea is because I think Money in the Bank, the concept's been around since 2005 now. There's only been Sandow and Cena as the failed cash-in. Cena announced it a week in advance, I believe. Sandow, tried to cash in on Cena. That's not a good idea. So there's been, now this is the third failed cash-in out of 12 years of Money in the Bank, and I don't even know how many Money in the Bank matches and briefcases have been awarded out. I'd take a wild guess and say 20. Could be more, could be less. So that's a pretty good ratio of winners compared to losers. So it's almost a near certainty that you're going to win. I personally believe Money in the Bank should be not a certainty. I think there needs to be more fails. And I think if you fail, it's not the end of the world. So I think this is a good opportunity for WWE to have Baron Corbin fail, but still get that World Championship, or stay relevant in the main event scene for the time being, despite losing the Money in the Bank. Because this way, it enables Money in the Bank to be more unpredictable. Because right now, basically, we said when Baron Corbin won Money in the Bank, okay, he's guaranteed, essentially, he's going to be world champion at some point within the next year. So we know he's going to win the belt. So, and it was same with Sheamus, someone who I really didn't want to be world champion, and I was just dreading the moment that he was going to cash in and win that belt. We all knew it was going to come at some point. So I think having that unpredictability back in the Money in the Bank revives the concept a little bit, because it's a little jaded at this point. It's a little bit predictable. Okay, yes, the cash-in moment is still always special because it is a surprise. It basically is, oh shit, we've got a new world champion coming up. That's cool. But still, it's basically awarding someone a free world championship. And quite often, Money in the Bank is used to give someone a world championship that probably wouldn't get there naturally and traditionally, just, working their way up the ladder, getting themselves over, eventually, in storyline, beating the big opponents, and earning that opportunity. Quite often, Money in the Bank is used for someone, more often a heel, that kind of needs that cheating, that scummy way of winning. Otherwise, you couldn't really believe them winning. For example, Jinder Mahal would have probably been a good Money in the Bank holder for that reason alone, and Baron Corbin was probably a good Money in the Bank holder. So that's probably your typical guy that you'd want holding Money in the Bank. Probably Sami Zayn, for example, as well. You probably couldn't see him winning, a world title traditionally without him really going through the Money in the Bank and cashing that in and doing that. So that's what we're dealing with the Money in the Bank briefcase. And yet sometimes we get Randy Orton or John Cena who gets it, sure. But more often than not, this is what we typically get, or what we probably should be getting. So sometimes these guys don't deserve to win. And why did Baron Corbin lose? Some say it's because of the trash he's been talking on Twitter with Dave Meltzer and the guy in the army, recruit or whatever, the military guy. And that's what I'm looking for. Who WWE, I think, had a picture with Vince McMahon or whatever. So some say it's because of that, but realistically, it's probably because they changed plans. They probably went, okay, we're still happy with Jinder as champion. We might stick with Jinder going forward. Or we don't want Nakamura to lose. We want Nakamura to hold the championship, and we don't want him to lose. And, this is our way out. We're not really 100% on having Corbin as the champion right now. We don't really believe that he might be the right guy. So maybe they've had second thoughts. And if that's the case, that's okay. But in saying this, as much as I don't like Baron Corbin, for him right now, he needs to probably win a world title at some point, probably within the next year, because that way it would prove that losing Money in the Bank isn't the end of the world. And I think that's an important concept they need to start developing. Once they start to develop that, then I really believe Money in the Bank will be freshened up, and having that element of risk involved of winning Money in the Bank is back. Because realistically, it's been okay, guaranteed win. Whereas when it first came in, it was like, oh shit, when he cashes in, I hope he picks the right time, otherwise he might lose. And in the last few years, it's like, alright, he cashed in, he'll win. So, I think having that element of risk involved back in Money in the Bank can only be positive for it, and having people lose can only be positive for it. It's like the Royal Rumble. People expect the person who wins the Royal Rumble to always win the World Championship, but it's not always the case. And now it's not a guarantee, despite getting a massive victory, but it still gives them a big match, a big moment, and that spotlight. And it doesn't necessarily hurt their careers in the long run. And most of the time, the person who wins the Royal Rumble ends up being a multiple-time world champion in the long run anyways. Just look at the track records. So that's okay. So there's no reason why Money in the Bank can't be something similar, where you get that big world title opportunity, but you don't win, but it's not the end of the world, and eventually one day you will get the championship back. Maybe Corbin wins Money in the Bank again next year and has another go at it and wins it that time. Redemption for himself. That would be an interesting storyline. I wouldn't mind seeing that, despite it being, alright, crap, we have to see Baron Corbin win the world title, but that could be an interesting storyline they can go for. That's a year in advance. They'd have to plan for that. So there's, a lot can happen within 1 year. But, it's just a thought. I really don't see this as a bad thing. And anyone saying he's been buried, well, if he goes from being a main event guy working John Cena to losing to, Sin Cara next week, then yeah, sure, he'll be buried. But when he's versing John Cena at SummerSlam, yeah, he'll probably lose to John Cena, let's be honest. But if he starts losing to Sami Zayn, if he starts losing to Rusev, he starts, losing to Mike Bennett, he's, you name him, anyone. He starts losing, and eventually he goes down the card and finds that spot around that low mid-card. Yeah, absolutely. But more often, what I really believe will happen, yeah, he'll probably lose to Cena, or possibly he might even beat Cena, might, get a roll-up or get, a one-up on Cena and get a bit of revenge. I think that'd be good for him. But, I think more than likely he'll stay in the main event because they probably need Baron Corbin. They've really got no one else there. Whether you like him or hate him, Baron Corbin has done pretty well for himself, and they've positioned him quite decently, and he's done an okay job with what he's done. I still don't think he's anything special. I still don't think he's a world champion material, but I still think he's a valuable commodity towards that upper mid card to lower and main event level. So I would hate to see him get buried down, and I really don't believe it'll happen. So if you think it's the end of the world, I disagree. I think it's a good thing for Money in the Bank as a concept. I think this probably will mean that Carmella will most likely be successful when she cashes in. I think a woman losing her first cash in on Money in the Bank would be a pretty bad idea. I think that would be a risk that's not worth it. I think you need to kind of establish it as a successful commodity, a successful tool for a woman first up. But in a few years' time, you could start integrating a couple of losses here and there. And then look, it's not the end of the world. If someone loses every 5 or so years, so be it. It doesn't have to be every year. You still want people to be successful from it, but a loss here and there, I think, only does wonders for the Money in the Bank concept and adds that more unpredictable nature to it. I think it's a good thing. But anyway, so move on. Just whilst we're on SmackDown, one little thing again, Jinder. I mean, he's getting bitched out a little bit. He's lost last week, now basically losing to Cena again this week. Yeah, he survived, recovered a little bit after, Baron Corbin and got the one up on him and gets away with it and looks okay. But is this a sign that maybe they're starting to have him lose a little bit and then going to have Nakamura win the championship? Or is it the other way around? Because quite often they do this. For some reason, they have their champion lose a lot, and then when the title's on the line, they have him win. So maybe he will win at SummerSlam to get those big wins back. But, yeah, Orton and Cena basically getting one-ups on him. I think that's not a bad thing, honestly. Probably expect that to happen realistically. But you probably wouldn't want your world champ losing too much, especially Jinder, who's lacking the credibility as it is. So it just looks like Jinder can't win without the Singh brothers. And that's not good. That's not good for Jinder, but that's just the character they portrayed. And they really had no choice but to portray that character, because you can't have him go from being absolutely nothing to world champion overnight. You know, you need to have a reason why he's winning so much, and that reason has been the help that he's been getting from the Singhs. So you take that help away from him, he probably should be losing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at SummerSlam. Will they get involved? If he's all alone, then you probably should expect him to lose. And I don't think it would be a good call for Nakamura to lose at this point. I think Nakamura is just starting to get some good reactions. Just starting to get the crowd supporting him. Not just the theme song, but actually supporting Nakamura. And I think it's a good time to probably strike. I think it's a little bit too soon, to be honest. I probably would strike maybe Royal Rumble time. But if the alternative is Jinder Mahal, it might not be such a bad idea to go with Nakamura now. But then again, as we said earlier on, who does he feud with? He's got Jinder for a couple months maybe. Kevin Owens is busy. Baron Corbin just lost. Can they salvage him? Rusev more than likely will lose to Randy, so that's probably not going to happen. So they're lacking a little bit. They're lacking a little bit there with top heels on SmackDown. So do we need a turn? Because we've got, Cena, Orton, and AJ, the top three guys on SmackDown are all babyface. Then you got Kevin Owens, you got Nakamura, and Jinder and Baron. So you've got a really babyface heavy brand, but then they're kind of lacking quite a bit on the heel side of things. So they might need to do a turn here or there, or maybe a trade or something like that, just to inject some more life into the heel side of the main event scene there on SmackDown. But we'll move on to Monday Night Raw now, and that's, I guess that's more of the topical things that I want to, have been talking about lately. Is Raw, to me, has been the more interesting brand between the two. I think majority of things on Raw I've been really enjoying. I've actually really enjoyed Raw last few weeks, especially this week as well. I really did enjoy it again. Some people say, it's the same shit, not real good, but honestly, I've really enjoyed the build to SummerSlam, especially on the Raw side of things. The SmackDown side, not so much, but really enjoying the characters on Raw quite a lot. So it's good to see that I'm finding something that I'm really enjoying. SmackDown's a bit more of a chore to watch, but, they spiced it up this week, like I said, with the Corbin cash-in fail. Raw, though, was a pretty solid show, in my opinion. Started off really well with the Shield, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins finally back together, finally saying, yep, all right, let's do it, let's take on the tag champs. And to be honest, I think they should win the belts. We'll get into that soon with our SummerSlam predictions, but I think that's a really good combination. It's made Dean Ambrose so much more interesting. It's really helped Seth Rollins as well. It's helping both guys right now. The crowd want to see it. The crowd went nuts for it when it finally happened, which is great. So I think they'll get a great response at, I think it's Brooklyn, where SummerSlam is at. So I think they'll get a great response there. And why not, roll with it for a while? Yes, it's probably like, okay, we know a turn's going to happen from someone. Will it be Ambrose this time? Possibly. Will it be Rollins again? I think unlikely. I think Ambrose would have more of a reason to turn on Seth, whereas Seth turning on him again would just be like, what? Why? Why would he do that? So more of a reason, in my opinion, to go with Dean Ambrose. And I think Ambrose probably needs a turn to freshen him up. I think he's been a little bit stale as a babyface, and the whole, trying to be funny, goofy Ambrose is just not really working. So when he's a little bit more serious, I think that's when Ambrose is at his best. And him paired up with Seth Rollins again is starting to get him more towards that best. And I'm really starting to enjoy Dean Ambrose a little bit more now that he's with Seth Rollins. So, honestly, I think Sheamus Cesaro versus Rollins and Ambrose could be the match of the night at SummerSlam. Has all the potential. I mean, Sheamus and Cesaro have been a great tag team, excellent tag team. Really enjoying them. A terrific pairing, and whoever's idea it was to put the two together, well, congratulations. It was a good pairing. I guess on camera it was Mick Foley. Was it actually Mick Foley? I doubt it. But, they went for a best of seven between the two, which we all thought was an awful idea. because, by the end of it, we were a bit sick of it. That they had a great match at the end. I think that the last match of the series was awesome. And then they stuck them together as a tag team. We thought, oh no, here we go. This is not going to be good. And for a while, they were just starting to find their way, and they hated each other, and they went with the, boo, yeah thing. And eventually, they became friends, full-blooded heel turn, and away we went, and it's been excellent. Really has been. And very much so enjoying the team. It's really given Cesaro and Sheamus both something to do and stay credible without, because I think both of them right now as a singles, there just wouldn't be a place for them on the card. There's just other guys that are a little bit more new and they've got more investment and interest in right now, whereas Sheamus and Cesaro not so much as singles. But here's the thing as well, it's the same for Ambrose and Rollins. If there isn't a place for you as a singles champion, there's no reason why you can't enter the tag division. This is a thing that I think WWE have really been lacking. Put two guys together who are doing nothing. Put them together and see how it goes. Look at Breezango, for example. Two guys just thrown together, and it's worked. It has worked. It took a long time to work, but it eventually did. And that's why I think tag team division, it can be so useful, because there's always never enough tag teams. There's always a lack of tag teams, and there's always too many singles guys doing nothing. So that's why tag teams can be such a valuable way to revive someone's career, or someone's career, and get them back on TV, expose more. I mean, look at, Axel and Bo Dallas. Could you imagine them? Yes, obviously with the Mr. Raj, but could you imagine them as a singles right now? Well, yeah, I did. They were, and they were not on TV at all. So when they finally put them together as a team and then added the Miz to it, they can finally start to do something with them. So pairing people up together is not always a bad idea. I know some people are really critical of it. Like, oh, this is a makeshift tag team. They're just throwing these two guys together. So what? Honestly, if it's good, who cares? Who cares if they didn't have 5 years as a tag team on the independents? Who gives a shit? Why does it matter? A lot of the great tag teams don't. And yeah, a lot of the teams back in the day did do that, and they were just permanent tag team guys all the time. But you can't always have that. And if there's two guys doing nothing, and you feel like they could be a good tag team, go for it. Just because they're not an established team in the past doesn't matter. They can start to become an established team now. So sometimes some guys just aren't meant for singles. Probably look at Jason Jordan, probably not meant for singles right now. And they probably, after time, probably won't be a spot for him as a singles. But sometimes them as a tag team, that's where the money is. You got to find the right partner, yes, but even if it's short term, you give it a go. You try down the house shows, two guys teaming up, and see how it goes. At least some guys that aren't doing anything will get that opportunity to start doing something. So the Shield together, overall, yes, very good idea. And we'll get into a moment with the SummerSlam predictions, but I'm going to say we might have new tag champs. Perfect segment with the Fatal 4-Way to end the show. Strowman and Lesnar with the big showdown with the entire locker room trying to separate the two, then going off air as well. Really teasing it hard, and just small little physical confrontation. Excellent. I think that was excellent. Perfect way to do it. That's what it needed to be. A brawl, and have the two big dogs, no pun intended, sorry Roman. The two big guys going at it, and that's what we wanted to see. I think they did it fine. They got a little bit of a few punches on each other, as they always do. The breakaway brawls. They never, for whatever reason, 10 guys can't stop one. But it always happens. But look, it was fine. And that's exactly what it needed to be. Good way to end the show. And I'm glad that they it looks like they wanted to end it, then they just kept going with it. I think Lesnar and Strowman just went a little bit too long, or maybe they gave him the call, go for it again. But they just kept going for it, and eventually went off the air, basically with the two brawling. So, or just being separated. So it adds intrigue. It's a tease for SummerSlam, and that's an easy old school angle to do to build to the pay-per-view, and that's well executed. And to be honest, that's what I want to see more from Brock Lesnar. I want to see more face-to-face confrontation. Paul Heyman cut an excellent promo, yes. And it's always good to see Heyman talk and Lesnar, stand there and do nothing and listen to Heyman, yeah. But I want to see Lesnar get involved with someone, especially when he's in a fatal four-way. For a number of weeks, he was just standing around doing nothing, not getting himself physically involved with the other guys. I think, after a big match, look at Roman Reigns and Strowman. Samoa Joe came out and he choked out Roman Reigns. There's no reason why Lesnar can't come out during that match and hit an F5 or two and lay everyone out and look like a beast. I think that's, something they're missing. Lesnar getting himself more involved and doing some more physical things like that, rather than him just standing around. Yeah, it is the specialty of him only being on pay-per-view and only being able to see him getting, throwing German suplexes and F5s on pay-per-view. But I think Lesnar's used better when he's just kicking ass. And that's why when the Miz TV segment was great, and then again here with the Fatal 4-Way segment here with the Brawl, I think that's when Lesnar's at his best. Sasha Banks, #1 contender, confirmed now, will take on Alexa Bliss. The right decision, absolutely. I think that's the right feud. And obviously, Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss have been kind of allies. Wouldn't really make sense at this point. So, Sasha winning. Nia Jax tapping out. Does it do anything for her? No, but losing to Sasha, she's done that enough now. It doesn't really hurt her that much. So, could be a good match. Sasha and Alexa should be a good match. Should have been the match to begin with from the get-go. I don't know why they went for Bayley, but hopefully there's something there to enjoy. Hardy Boys, are they trying to use the Hardys to save Jason Jordan? It could be the case. Look, Jason Jordan again, another bad reaction. Things aren't going well for him, but like I said, just give it time. We'll see how it goes in 3 months' time. If it really is an abomination, okay. But we're only, a month or so in. Let's just chill for a bit. Let's just see how it goes. But, Hardy Boys getting involved and Jason Jordan teaming with him is a smart idea. Just to get someone who's popular involved there with Jason Jordan, help him out. Because at the moment, he's dying. He's dying out there, so he needed a bit of help. Could be a 6-man of the pay-per-view. The Miz teaming up with Anderson Gallows. Probably not a bad idea. Save the IC title match for later. I don't think Jordan's ready for that. I don't think that would be a good idea. I think Jason Jordan would probably get booed out of the building. I think they're going to be pretty rowdy, that crowd. So a 6-man tag could be fine and a way to get everyone on the card and just do something. And I think if the Hardy Boys are left on the card, they'd be pretty pissed off. So they haven't announced the match yet, I don't believe, so I probably expect it might be a bit of an impromptu match. And they might do that just so the criticism isn't there for Jason Jordan, just to keep him quiet and keep the talk away from him until SummerSlam. What is going on with Emma? Another loss, this time to Mickie James, who doesn't beat anybody, so that's a bit of a surprise. They're kind of doing a storyline right now that she's, pissed off, wants opportunities, but when she gets them, she fails. So, I don't know, man. Don't know what the hell's going on with her. I mean, you look at Emma's Instagram, there's plenty to like. She is absolutely gorgeous. In the ring, they don't really, her ring attire doesn't really do it. It doesn't really show how good looking of a woman she is. So, I guess you don't really see that so much. But absolutely, she is a gorgeous woman. She's good in the ring, in my opinion. I have to deal with her accent, but unfortunately, I'm not a big fan of the accent. Of course, being a fellow Australian, I'm allowed to criticize that. I think the Aussie accent sounds terrible, so you're probably thinking, yeah, your voice is terrible, Brendan. Yeah, it probably is. But, yeah, I don't know. Man. I just don't know what's going on with Emma. I want to see her starting to get some wins and some momentum, but I just don't see it happening. They obviously Bayley, Nia Jax, Sasha, and Alexa Bliss are the big four on Raw. Emma just can't find her way in there. Just can't find her way. Neither can Mickie James, for example. Just can't crack in there. And I think it's going to come a time where they're going to need those two women, and maybe even Dana Brooke, God help us. But maybe even a few more to get involved and start to spice the division up, because it will get stale. And I think it nearly already has, with Sasha versus, Nia, Sasha with Bliss, Bayley and Bliss, Bayley and Nia. It's a bit played out now. So sooner or later, they're going to have to start elevating Emma. They're going to have to start elevating Mickie James. So is this a step in the right direction? At least they're featuring them? Yeah, maybe, but it's not doing Emma any favors right now with the storyline. It's been confirmed that SummerSlam, that the Demon Finn Balor will return. look, it's expected. It's great that he's going to be there. The Demon will be back. I think it needed to happen. My issue is them announcing it in advance. I think it would have been better kept as a surprise. Yeah, we probably all expected it. But you could do the red paint. You could do the blood on Finn Balor, which was cool. I like that. The red paint / the blood. And then you have Finn Balor backstage enraged and just say that, he could have cut a promo saying, look, wait till SummerSlam, and have him come out as the Demon. Didn't have to say, yeah, the Demon's going to be confirmed at SummerSlam. Yeah, they did it to try and entice you to watch the pay-per-view. Yes. But that little bit of a uncertainty would have been nice, and then see the surprise would have been cool, and see Finn Balor. But I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure he'll have something really great, considering it's the first time in, I think, a year that he's been the Demon. First time since the injury. So, yeah, it's long overdue. But if they are going to wait to a big pay-per-view to do it, SummerSlam is a good one to do it. And if that's the case, they keep it more special. I'm fine with that. It doesn't have to be every pay-per-view, because they do a pay-per-view every 2 weeks, it seems. So that's okay. If they want to keep it to the big four, or just maybe can we even call Survivor Series a big one even anymore? But keep it to those big ones. That's fine. And last but not least, a new Cruiserweight champion. Wow. Well, Akira Tozawa has won the Cruiserweight Championship, beating Neville on Raw. From the sounds of it, it felt as though they were going to bump this match from the pay-per-view. That's why they were going for it early. But then they put it in the pre-show of the pay-per-view anyway, so I don't understand why this happened on Raw. Did they do it to try and pop a rating? Did they do it to try and add some interest and intrigue in the Cruiserweight Championship match at SummerSlam? Maybe. Is it because it's going to be on the pre-show? Not everyone's going to watch the pre-show, so if they're going to do a title change, they want to do it on a show that majority of people are watching? Possibly. That might be the reason. So instead of doing it on the pre-show, they went for it on the main on Raw. But so Tozawa and Neville will have a rematch on the pre-show. Look, I'm not against Tozawa winning it. I think Neville's held it majority of the year, or all year. I can't quite remember when he did win it. Was it late last year or early this year? Might have been early this year. But I think Neville has had a fantastic run as champion. Excellent. The only guy really worth watching in the Cruiserweights. But the only other guy at the moment who's got any momentum, who's doing any good, is Tozawa. I'm really liking the Titus O'Neil, the Apollo Crews, the Titus brand association with Tozawa. It's weird, it's wacky, but I like it. And I think it's helping Tozawa. That interacting with someone else other than Cruiserweights is not a bad idea. So I'm not hating it. I think Tozawa will be a good champion. How long will he hold it for? I don't know. Very possible that Neville wins it back at SummerSlam. I wouldn't rule it out. Could be a very short-term champ, just a surprise win, just got the one-up on Neville. I think Neville had a great promo on 205 Live. I didn't get the chance to watch it, because, who watches 205 Live? But I should check it out. So I'm hearing good things about it. So Neville could go crazy. He could be, just become psychotic and just, deranged without the championship. It's quite possible they could go with that, and he could become very dangerous even more. Very possible. And if that's the case, that's not a bad idea. And Tozawa could pay the price very, very soon. So very possible at SummerSlam, but he might just get a quick roll-up pinfall on Neville and just get the better of him once again. And then maybe Neville snaps. And just takes out the Cruiserweights backstage, or does something big on Raw or 205 Live, something like that. But they really need to start establishing some more Cruiserweights. I think Tozawa is the only other guy right now that I would go with. So I think they probably realize that as well. And they probably want to drag this feud out for as long as they possibly can, whilst they're trying to build up some other Cruiserweights, because right now they don't really have anyone else kind of worth watching. Tozawa's very talented, Neville's very talented, so if they give him enough time on the pre-show, they could have a great match. So, and that's the thing with the pre-show. I think, 2 hours or a 1 hour pre-show? Surely they can find 15 minutes on the pre-show to give them time, instead of having, video package after video package that we're going to see later on in the show anyways. Allocate some more time to the matches. But with that being said, we'll transition into our SummerSlam predictions. And as we said, the the pre-show matchup with Tozawa and Neville. I'm going to go with Tozawa. I'm going to say he'll get, like I said, a quick pinfall finish, or maybe Titus O'Neil inadvertently gets himself involved or something to help Tozawa win, and Neville might go crazy afterwards. Another pre-show match, which is very surprising that this has been bumped to the pre-show, the New Day versus the Usos for the SmackDown tag titles. So, a big tag team championship match. It's been built for a while now. Bumped to the pre-show, including two pretty popular teams. The New Day have been pretty good for a long time now. The Usos the same. Both teams are going good. One of the better parts of the SmackDown brand, to be honest, has been the tag team rivalry. And they bump it on the pre-show, so that's a little disappointing for them. You know, what could you put there in place of it? I mean, probably Big Show and Big Cass, honestly. Naomi, Natalya, I'd rather probably see that in the pre-show so I don't have to watch it. Even Bliss and Sasha, one of those. I think the New Day and the Usos will be a far better match. The only thing that could be better for it is if they get some extra time on the pre-show than they would not have gotten on the main show. If that's the case, that's okay. Because look, at the end of the day, pre-show is still SummerSlam, so it's not the end of the world. You just don't get on the main show. And to be honest, I haven't watched a pre-show since probably WrestleMania, and before WrestleMania, I probably haven't watched one. I couldn't tell you. So probably one pre-show, at least in the last year, I've watched. I really haven't been watching or paying attention because you don't really need to. I mean, look at the quality of pre-show matches as of late. Aiden English versus Ty Dillinger. I mean, who's really going out of their way to see that? So, at least it gives a couple of good matches that are worth watching on the pre-show, so I might even try and check out the pre-show for once. You know, maybe it's worth checking out. Okay, so we got our other tag team championship match. We got Sheamus and Cesaro versus Ambrose and Rollins. I'm going to say Ambrose and Rollins wins. I think they do this as a way to keep the two together. They are forced to stay together as a tag team. They're not going to get along. They'll argue. They might even, tag each other when they didn't want to. The chemistry might be a little bit off, but they still get it done because they work so well. Actually, I'll take that back. The chemistry's there. They work so well as a team, but they just still can't get along. And they go with that storyline, keep the two together, and then they have the tag team championships. That's the bond that they've had. Them winning together is the bond that keeps them together. And then maybe they hold the titles for a little bit. Maybe they lose it. Maybe they snap afterwards. Maybe one of them turns heel. Pretty simple, but pretty effective. They can go with that. And that's probably where I see it. Sheamus and Cesaro losing the belts, it won't hurt them. They've had a great little run as well. They've been great champions. And I think they probably do need to have Sheamus and Cesaro lose because they are really lacking big time on the babyface side of the tag division. They've only got the Hardy Boys, got Slater and Rhino, but they're quite low, very low down the card. So they've got Gallows and Anderson at least, Sheamus and Cesaro, the Revival when they're back. So they've got a few teams that can go up against Ambrose and Rollins for the time being that are credible and believable and entertaining. So some good little rivalries that they can execute. And then eventually do the turn, and then you could have one of the heel teams hold the belts, and hopefully by then they've established a couple of other teams in the division or brought another one up or something like that. So that's what I would do. John Cena, Baron Corbin, 1-on-1. You'd have to say Cena. Cena always wins the big ones. Corbin, his only chance could be if he gets, like I said, a quick pinfall win. But if they're going to go with that with Tozawa and Neville, they might not do that again on the show. But I think Baron Corbin probably could use a win after losing Money in the Bank. I think it would be fair enough if he did win. But Cena's been losing a little bit as of late. Losing to Nakamura. They might want to give Cena another big win just to keep him super. But very possible that Cena will win. Baron Corbin beats him down after the match to get his heat back. Or it's even possible that the match doesn't even happen. Baron Corbin just beats the shit out of him before the match can even happen, and they just brawl. They just brawl, and the match doesn't even take place. Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, the Demon Finn Balor versus Bray. No way in hell Bray wins this one. You can't have Demon come back and lose. No way. So Finn Balor will win. Not expecting too much from this match. Bray Wyatt has just been okay. It's been Bray Wyatt, just decent. Finn Balor, yes, the Demon will add so much more interest to it, but, you know, I don't expect too much from it. Big cast, big show. Enzo will be suspended above the ring in a shark cage. It's got to be big cast. Surely you can't have big cast lose a big feud to the Big Show. If you want to get the big cast over as the next guy, he needs to start winning the big ones. And this is a perfect match for him to win and to establish himself. And I got to say, this turn has really benefited Big Cass a lot. Enzo, not at all. Enzo, no way. Who knows what Enzo will be doing after this. But Big Cass, his promos are getting better. He's getting more of a reaction. He's getting booed. I mean, he couldn't even talk on the mic. People just hate the guy right now. He's doing such a good job as a heel. People just hate him so much for what he's done to Enzo. So he's done such a terrific job as a heel. They've done really great to get him over. My fear is that he won't be able to keep this momentum going after this feud is over. But he's done quite well for himself as a heel and getting himself over to this point. He's really improving, so let's hope that he can keep it going. So I'm going to say he'll get the win. Randy and Rusev. I'd love to say Rusev will win because I think he needs a win, but Randy's been losing quite a lot. And Randy has done his job. He did his absolute best to get Jinder over. Tried his heart out. Lost and lost and lost. He was the sacrificial lamb. So I think if we're talking, wins and losses and giving a guy a win back, Randy probably needs a win. And you can give him a reward for doing the honors to Jinder by beating Rusev. AJ and Kevin Owens for the US title. Well, who knows? Who knows where they're going to go with this? They traded the belt back and forth. They've had so many matches against each other. You'd have to think Shane's going to be getting himself involved. More than likely, Kevin Owens maybe attacks Shane or inadvertently or something happens and Shane and Kevin, they go at it or something like that. Something needs to happen because that's, to me, where I see this storyline going. Shane and Kevin ultimately having a match at some point, maybe Survivor Series, maybe a SmackDown pay-per-view down the line. Something like that taking place. So for that to happen, I think AJ wins the belt, moves on to his next opponent. Could be Rusev. If they did have Rusev win, it could be him. And do something there. And Kevin goes on to take on Shane McMahon, or at least feud with him in some capacity. Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship. Well, he could go either way. It really could, but I'm pulling for Nakamura. I think it could be a good time to execute. I still think, yes, it's a little early, but Jinder Mahal, I just am not fond of his championship run at all. Just can't get into it. Not a fan. So, for me personally, I'd much rather see Nakamura as the champion right now. Probably not ready in terms of his popularity not being at its height yet. I think he could still have some more developing to do. Yes, I'm not saying he's not ready in terms of his in-ring ability or anything like that. I'm just saying it's only been a few months since he's been on the main roster. I think he could benefit from having 6 months under his belt, maybe even 12 months, maybe winning a Royal Rumble, something like that. Letting the crowd slowly get into Nakamura, being more exposed to him and become more of a fan rather than him being pushed too hard too soon. But it's hard because I think Jinder has just been such a dull champion. I think this is this is a hard one to really predict because you could go really either way. I want Nakamura to win, but it wouldn't surprise me if they stick with Jinder for the time being. But I think realistically, Nakamura should win this one, hold the belt. But even that's a big risk as well. How will he be perceived as champion? Will the crowd support be there? People still loving Nakamura? Have they really got into him yet? Have they had enough time to develop that interest in him yet? I don't know. He hasn't really done a lot yet. This is really his big-time match that he's had, his first big-time match other than the Cena one. There's only been the last month where I feel like he's had his best performances and he started to really go from being, we know him to be so great from Japan and NXT, let's see how he goes. Now people are starting to see that he's really good. People are starting to get into the character. People are starting to become more positive about him, and he's starting to get more over. He's getting more and more cheers every time he comes out. So it's only been this last month where he's really started to find that improvement. Do we execute it now, or do we try and get a couple more months under our belts before we go for it? It's hard to say. But as a fan, I really want Nakamura to win. Honestly, I think he'd be entertaining champion, and I'm not liking Jinder. Bliss versus Sasha, I think Alexa Bliss will win. not much to really say here. If the plan was to have Bayley and Alexa, I don't think Sasha Banks is in the plans to win this belt. Otherwise, they would have went for it in the first place to begin with. Natalya, I think it's time to have Naomi drop the belt. I think Natalya should have another run with the belt. I think there's more rivalries for Natalya to do. Naomi has got no one to take on after this. You've got Carmella. Yeah, she's already got Money in the Bank, so she's not going to go for it. You got Lana, you got Tamina, who, please, nobody wants to see that. So Natalya wins the belt. You got Becky, you got Charlotte, you got Naomi. You've got a little bit more there. Nikki Bella could come back, go for it. Yeah, you got a little bit more there for the time being. So I think Natalya is champion. Look, to be honest, Natalya deserves a run. She hasn't had a championship run for a while. I think she deserves a few more championship runs, to be honest. I think she hasn't had enough. This will solidify her as a great women's wrestler in the WWE, a very successful one. She needs a few more title reigns to kind of put herself to that next level. I think this will really help her out. Last but not least, the big one, Lesnar, Reigns, Joe, and Strowman. My God, am I looking forward to this match. Cannot wait. This is the reason to watch just by itself. I cannot wait. I hope it delivers. I'm so looking forward to it. I just really hope it's a good one. I think Lesnar retains, but I think Lesnar retains and pins Roman Reigns. I think Lesnar winning may piss some people off, but Lesnar winning and pinning Roman Reigns will piss no one off. I think majority of the crowd will be happy with Roman Reigns losing, and if Lesnar beats Reigns, you can always set that up for later on as well. Oh, I got you at SummerSlam. Reigns wants his redemption. You can start to build towards that. Maybe a slow build to WrestleMania. Or Roman Reigns wins the belt, holds it until WrestleMania. Lesnar's gone because that's the storyline. He quit WWE, and he comes back, and they have the big rematch at WrestleMania. Sure. Or you go Samoa Joe, execute on him now, and go for it. Or Braun Strowman, still the same. Both guys done very well for themselves. It can go either way. It's a rare, unique match in WWE where you just say, I don't know, and I'm happy with either option. Yeah, probably people say, I really don't want Reigns to win the belt, but honestly, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be against it. I think he deserves to be champion. I think he's a good champion. We've kind of seen Reigns and Strowman enough now, so that's kind of done. Reigns and Joe still has a little bit more legs in it, but after that, who else really is there for Reigns to take on? Whereas you got Joe and Strowman, you could go with Roman Reigns, as I said. You could have Ambrose involved. You could have Rollins involved. There's a few more guys to take on. I'm sure these four combinations will be taking each other on long term anyways. So we'll see. But I think because Lesnar's been advertised to be on the next Raw, to be at the next pay-per-view or whatever, that to me would suggest that he's going to win. And I think that's fine. But I think he's going to probably lose the belt sooner rather than later. I think at the moment, I think him holding it to WrestleMania would be a bad idea. I think especially when you got Joe, Strowman, and Reigns, three guys who are killing it right now, it'd be a real shame to have the belt locked up and not available. I think that would really severely hurt Raw, especially right now when Raw's doing good ratings, Raw's doing good, the storylines are good. I think having the belt involved and having Lesnar on the show more is helping. So I think having the belt gone would not be a good idea at all. And I think Lesnar's champion for now is fine, because he's only had one other championship defense. It'd be like, what's the point of giving him the belt if he's going to lose it this quickly? So maybe he holds it to Survivor Series, you do a big match there, maybe you give Joe Strowman the big win there, and you go from there. Would not be against that at all. And maybe Lesnar comes back at Royal Rumble or WrestleMania and hunts the belt back. Who knows? But that's SummerSlam. That is your SummerSlam predictions and my preview of SummerSlam, the way I see it going. I think Lesnar, as I said, will win that one. Overall, the card looks great. I think this is a strong card. Majority of the matches should be pretty good. Looking forward to the tag matches. Obviously, like I said, the Fatal 4-Ways. The women matches, not so much. And there's a few solid singles matches there. Cena, Corbin, Bray, Balor, Rusev, Randy. Even Big Cass and Big Show might surprise us. So there's a few, potentially good matches there. I think this is shaping up to be a pretty good SummerSlam overall. All right, last but not least, before we get going, just quickly, WWE 2k18 reveal. They announced a lot of the new superstars involved in the game. I think there's nearly like 50 superstars confirmed or something like that. I did a video about it on it yesterday. I also uploaded the 2 entrance videos that they showed, so if you missed that, check it out on my channel. But I like that they're announcing so many, and I like the screenshots that we're seeing. I like the look of the arenas that we're seeing. Yes, I want to see more information about gameplay and modes and things like that. And I think IGN released an article today talking a little bit about some of that. I don't have the details in front of me, and I haven't quite read the article, to be honest. But there's a few gameplay changes and things like that they've gone with, but nothing that really concerns me too much. But look, so far so good. I was very critical of the fact that they weren't showing gameplay a few weeks ago. Now they're starting to show a bit more gameplay. Entrances are coming out. The roster's starting to get revealed. There's a few good names in there. Tozawa's obviously in there, so that's positive signs for the Cruiserweights. They probably will be in the game, which is good. And there's a few NXT guys, Sanity's in there. So there's a few positive signs for the roster. And they've kind of, rehashed all of the legends, but that's to be expected. But overall, so far so good. Hopefully they continue down this trend. Might be another reveal next week. I'd say yes, there will be. And hopefully there's more gameplay. I want to see a match. I want to see a match and see some new mechanics and things be involved. I'm sure that will come soon, but if I'm 2K with SummerSlam coming up, and I think there's a SummerSlam WWE 2k18 event. I know a lot of YouTubers are getting invited and get to go and check it out. I will not be there. I didn't get the invite. I don't think they're going to pay for my flight to go over there. That's probably a big reason. And plus, I'm not a big YouTuber either. I'm a small YouTuber, so I'm not going to get the invite anyway. But I would love to go. If they want to invite me, I'll be there. I'll be happy to go. But, so maybe there's going to be some gameplay there. Maybe we'll get a chance to see what it's all about there and hear more about it then. So that'll be good. That'll be good to see some of that. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of videos about it over the weekend. And we'll get a chance to check it out. So it's starting to pick up a little bit now. Starting to get a little bit more details. And the excitement's starting to build a little bit more for 2K18. I know a lot of my subscribers and my viewers have been saying, hey, I'm really looking forward to watching you play 2K18, which is good. I'm glad people are excited to see me play, and I've got some big plans for this year's 2K18, absolutely. But we have some questions that we'll get into before we get going, so let's get straight into them. Alright, first question here is, well, I'm going to butcher the name. I'm going to give it a go. Mas X Oli Funday. Apologies, I butchered your name, but the question is, if you had to book a Bayley heel turn, how are you going to do it? Well, I think the best way to probably do it would be find someone that you can utilize to be the sympathy person, and it would have to be Sasha Banks. It wouldn't really work right now because you feel like Sasha Banks would be the one to turn heel in the storyline. You look at the way the storyline's been built, yeah. But if you had to do it, you'd have to find someone, maybe Becky Lynch, someone that the crowd really likes just as much as Bayley, but maybe more than Bayley. Bayley gets jealous. Bayley is starting to lose that support, which she is. She absolutely is. And she snaps, and she gets jealous, and she goes crazy, and she just goes crazy, just goes psycho, really. You'd have to have her as a crazy heel. She snaps, she, comes out wearing some weird things and acting really weird and hating on little girls, and just, you'd have to do something like that. I couldn't see her as anything, to be a heel for her, I really have to see her as some kind of psychotic, crazy, twisted person. Someone who's just had an unfortunate thing happen to her, and she just can't cope. She just can't cope. She's just so jealous. She just can't cope with her not being the most beloved person. Can't cope with someone else taking her spot. So it's quite possible, let's say Sasha Banks wins the championship and she gets more popularity. People are starting to love Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks signs everyone loving Sasha Banks. Bayley gets lost in the shuffle. She gets left behind. People start to forget about her. Have her come back, turn heel, and you can kind of go with that. So that would be the only way I really see her as a heel. From Roy the Boy, do you think that the WWE Network being only $9.99 is one of the reasons why WWE gives away more pay-per-view matches on Raw? I don't know. I don't know about that. I just think it's the style of booking. I just feel like they don't want to do any long-term booking. They don't want to wait. They don't want to save any big matches. And because of the brand split and some of the, especially SmackDown in particular, they're really lacking. They have to kind of give away their big matches early just to fill in time and just to give some guys something to do and have big matches on Raw. They're very focused on getting TV ratings right now, more so than network subscriptions, and pay-per-view buy rates don't even exist anymore. So I think they're really, conscious about their TV ratings, and that's their main goal at the moment, rather than, network subscriptions. I think they believe as though, I guess, if people want to subscribe, they will, but if people want to watch something else, then they probably will. So they need to try and establish them on TV first before they can get them to subscribe. So I guess them marketing a big match on Raw might be one of their strategies to get them to actually subscribe to the network to watch the pay-per-view, which is kind of a bit of backwards. You kind of want to have build on the weekly shows, and then you execute on the big pay-per-view. But they're not making as much money per pay-per-view, so it doesn't really matter as much anymore. This next question is again from Roy the Boy. Do you think John Cena will be moving to Raw after SummerSlam? Yeah, I think so. Would love to see Cena and Strowman have a feud. Cena and Joe would obviously be awesome. So there's a few feuds definitely you could go with there. And if Lesnar's gone for a little bit, you're going to add Cena in the mix, and you can keep that situation quite interesting there, and you just elevate them even more. Raw gets even better. So, plus to give Cena something new to do. He's already, he's had a match against Jinder. He's had matches against Baron Corbin. He'll have another one at the pay-per-view. Beaten Rusev. So who else is for him to really beat in the heel side of things? Nobody. So it makes all the sense for him to go over there. John Moynihan, he's got 3 questions here. We'll answer them. His first one is, out of these 3 superstars, who would you push, fire, and retire? Luke Harper, Finn Balor, and Neville. Well, they're all too young to retire, but if I had to pick one, I would probably push... Man, this is a tough one. I'd probably push Luke Harper. I don't know, man. There's 3 guys that I would kind of like. Push Luke Harper, fire Finn Balor, because I feel like he could probably do a little bit more elsewhere. I think he's been a little bit underutilized. Retire Neville? I don't really want to retire Neville, but if I have to, for the sake of the question, that's a hard one. There's 3 guys that should not be fired or anything like that. But if you had to put some of the old guys in there, maybe a bit more easier. What are your thoughts on the Rock's new tattoo, and will it ruin his legacy with the old bull tattoo gone? I don't like the Rock tattoos. It looks bad. It might clear up to look okay, but for right now, I really don't like it at all. I think it looks terrible. But then again, it's tattoo. Someone can get tattoo of anything. It's their own personal taste. It's their body. They can get whatever they want. Personally, I'm not a big fan of tattoos. I think some tattoos look cool, and I really appreciate that. Like, for example, Randy Orton's tattoos, I think look cool. I like them. Just don't like the Rock's tattoo. I think the bull was cool. It was, signify who the Rock really is and was. But I get it. He kind of wants to move on from that and go from there. It's not going to ruin his legacy. I don't think a tattoo will ever define someone's legacy, but it's a shame. It's a shame to see it go. Last question from John. What do you think the next old school Raw SmackDown will be, as there hasn't been one in a few years? Also, who would you like to see on the shows? I don't think there's going to be one for a while, because who do you bring back? Most of the old school guys are done. Most people from the Attitude Era have either kind of retired now, or we don't really want to see anymore. There's really no one to bring back, and most of the guys back in the day are getting a bit too old to really do anything physical, so there's really not much you could do. I mean, old school Raw, what do we bring back? Carlito? We bring back John Morrison? I mean, is that what we're at now? I don't know. I mean, bring back Batista? Yeah, I would love it, but there really is no one to bring back. Yeah, you could bring back some older guys, not to do anything physical, cut a promo or something like that. Yeah, sure, have a segment, sure, but there really isn't many people to bring back right now. So I don't know. I really have no idea when they'll do another one. This one's from Aaron Jordan. After hearing about what you said last week about how you don't like music generally being played on the radio, I'm curious to know, what music do you like? So I think last week I must have said that I'm not a big fan of some of music that's played on the radio. So what kind of music am I into? I like rock. I like metal. That's mainly my 2 genres. Like a bit of rap, but nothing from, at the moment. More so some old stuff, but not a lot really. Mainly metal. Mainly metal. and rock. So that's my two genres right now. And two genres, especially rock, that's kind of, dying out a little bit. Just music these days, in my opinion, just the auto-tune, the talent is still there, but they don't utilize it. Instead, they rely on, every song at the moment is, someone singing and then a rapper's in it for whatever reason. Just, for whatever reason, there's always a rapper in every damn song. He has a verse just because, and, the chorus is always solid, but the rest of the song is just very forgettable. It's just same generic formula that they just continue to go with. It's successful. They keep up with that song. People keep viewing it. I mean, look at YouTube views on music. It's through the roof. But, no one's buying music anymore. So is there as much effort being put into it? I don't even know. I don't know, man. I just can't deal with that. I feel like maybe it's that old nostalgia syndrome. You always like music from when you first got into it. You always like the things that, when you were younger, you always appreciate it more than the current stuff. Yeah, maybe. But I'm still 22, so this is still my current stuff. And not like, just because, it was the first stuff I listened to 10 years ago doesn't mean it's better than now, or I like it more than that now than then. No, I just think music sucks. I just think, pop music these days and the music you hear on the radio sucks. I have to turn the radio off most of the time. I really can't stomach it. It's a real struggle. My girlfriend loves listening to all that, type of music. I really can't. It's she puts it on and I'm just going, oh, please, this is just terrible. And you get the odd song or two that's good, yeah, but majority of the time it's not. I mean, that new Rihanna song is one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life. It's terrible. She doesn't even say any real words. She's just saying crap. I don't know. Terrible. And the bad thing is, it's played every time I get in the freaking car. It's on the radio every time I, put some kind of musical show or anything related that plays songs. I hear that damn song and it's terrible. I can't tell you the name of it, but it sucks. Okay, last few questions. Cameron Fox, do you ever make your own character on the new wrestling games every year? No, I used to. In the old ones. The last couple of games I haven't. I don't think I've made myself since probably 2k18. So normally I do, but I don't really play the games that much. I mainly just play universe mode and record the matches and things like that. I'm not actually playing the matches myself. The only time I really play the matches when I play career mode, and I haven't really been enjoying career mode much. So yeah, not a lot there. Next question is again from Aaron Jordan. If you could remove one current pay-per-view in the WWE right now and replace it with an old one, what would it be and why? Pretty easy. I would remove Hell in a Cell. I think they devalued Hell in a Cell so much. But I would remove it and put it any name, really. I mean, Bad Blood. You can put Armageddon on later on. Judgment Day. You can do anything. So, No Way Out. Unforgiven. One of those. Last question from Tanzan Ahmed. Was it a good decision for Corbin to lose the contract, or do you think they could use this as a way to change his character up a bit? Yeah, they could. They could do this as a way to kind of switch him up a little bit and spice him up. Absolutely. It could make him more aggressive. It could make him, really go crazy and snap and do that. But he just, when he does it, when he was kicking the announce table and throwing things around, it just felt forced. It just didn't feel, organic. I don't know, it feels like he's not really angry. He's just kind of putting it on. Is he a bad actor? Maybe. Maybe he's just a terrible actor. Probably is. Every time he talks, it feels like he's reading off a script, not his actual words. It's because it is a script. So he's probably just a bad actor. So I don't know if he can really pull off a character change. Maybe this is all he can really do. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is all we have time for this edition of the podcast. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, leave a like on it and subscribe to hear the next episode coming up your way next week. Of course, you can listen to the show on iTunes, Spreaker, and Stitcher as well. If you want to download the show, head over to those platforms and do so. Leave a question for next week's episode by leaving a comment in the YouTube comment section down below, and also on our Facebook page, facebook.com/BrandonPlays. Next week we will be reviewing SummerSlam and chatting all about it, and we probably have ourselves another roster reveal. Alright, I better get going before I keep fumbling up my words. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.